Alrighty, October, looking like a jam-packed month. In fact, this might be one of like the largest months of the year in terms of the number of big new games coming out. A few ones that I'm quite interested in as well, so let's go ahead and dive on in. First up this month is Kingmakers. Now, I am cautiously quite optimistic about this game. What I initially thought was going to be just kind of a meme game turns out to have a lot more depth and interesting mechanics than I expected. On the surface, yeah, you are strolling into medieval sword and bow fights with modern day weaponry. Sounds simple enough, yeah, but there's quite a bit more to it than that. I recently did a video going over a lot of the details that we know so far, but if you missed that, here's a brief recap of the highlights. So it's a third-person shooter. As you can see, you have access to a variety of weapons. You got throwables and vehicles as well, but not immediately and not infinite amounts or infinite ammo. That's kind of where the interesting stuff starts coming in. The game's gonna be mission-based, and you start out every mission with a lower tier weapon. So you'll have like a simple bow or crossbow or even a basic handgun. And then as the mission progresses, you gradually unlock more powerful options. You do this by collecting resources like copper, gold, and treasure, and then sending them back to the future, getting better weapons and tools in return. Also, you constantly have access to a small buckler that you use for parrying, along with a sledgehammer, which is good for stunning tough enemies. So yeah, you're not just going in with like unlimited rounds of a like LMG or something and mowing everything down. There's actually like a progression to this. There's also a weapon upgrade tree. You can improve things like mag capacity, armor pen, and accuracy. And you will have access to multiple vehicle types, starting with a motorcycle and a car. And they're trying to get the tank in for launch, but they haven't confirmed if it'll come in a later update. Now, the armies that you are fighting with and against, they are also more than just like massive mindless hordes of basic knights or whatever. At launch, there's actually 6 distinct different troop types. These include the swordsmen, spearmen, cavalry, archers, berserkers, and men-at-arms. Each of these fill a particular role and counter other roles in a rock, paper, scissors like fashion. So for example, archers are going to be really good against swordsmen, but not so good against the cavalry. And there's a similar kind of, again, rock, paper, scissors of formation to all of the troops' interactions. Troops can be upgraded and specialized as well, like promoting your archers to longbowmen, then increasing their damage to armor. You've also got a system of officers who are much larger, tougher, and deadlier enemies to contend with. There's going to be a variety of officer types, each with their own troops and fighting styles. Officers also wear different tiers of armor, which can mitigate and even outright negate some of your smaller caliber weapons. This makes the officers far more difficult early on before you get your bigger weapon upgrades and guns of higher caliber. There's also a lot of strategy elements in the game, so the entire thing runs in a full real-time simulation. You've got thousands of soldiers fighting simultaneously, each controlled with this multi-threaded AI used for decision-making, pathfinding, and loyalty systems. There are RTS mechanics. You can pull the camera back at any time, getting an overhead view of the battlefield. This not only lets you see what's going on around you, but it also allows you to command your troops to attack, retreat, or stand by your side. The aforementioned 6 troop types, you'll be picking and choosing the makeup that you want of the formations of your particular allied fighters. There's a morale system where enemy troops will be boosted by enemy officers, and taking one of their officers down can then cause those troops to retreat, whereas you act as the officer for your own troops with abilities to boost their morale, as well as directly supporting them with things like tossing in healing grenades. And there's base building. You're going to be placing down houses, barracks, lumber mills, and constructing castle walls and barricades, all of which serve their own function. The game's got a lot of destruction and physics stuff, so every weapon has a penetration rating, and that's going to interact with the indestructible environment differently, depending on if it's made of plaster, wood, or stone, while higher caliber guns are going to be able to shoot through multiple walls and even take out several soldiers with a single shot. You can outright destroy entire buildings using explosives, sledgehammers, or vehicles to take out sections or topple them entirely. And the game features 4-player co-op. You'll be joining together, working to take down enemy castle defenses or to defend allied strongholds against hordes of invading opponents. Other than concerns over how well this game is going to run with its destructible environments and the sheer number of NPCs in it, I'm pretty sold on everything that I've heard. Like, this looks and sounds like a fun, silly good time. and I'm really hopeful that they can pull it off. Kingmakers will be launching in Steam Early Access on October the 8th. The updated version of Blue Protocol, subtitled Star Resonance, is also launching this month. This is an MMORPG with many staples of the genre. You got open zones, group content, dungeons, boss fights, and raids, along with a lot of different side activities, social events, areas to explore, all with this Japanese anime styling and storytelling layered on top. So a few months ago, I got to play an early version of the game. Full disclosure, that was part of a sponsored video. Nevertheless, I did in fact have a good time, and I am looking forward to playing again for release. So beyond the layer of monetization and the gacha systems dragging it down a little bit, the game underneath that had a fair few interesting elements that I enjoyed, enough that I'm willing to give it at least one playthrough up until I hit whatever the paywall that's present rears its head. So the game's got a pretty solid character creator. You got a lot of different options for how you want your anime-like character to look. There's a fair few class options broken up into their respective roles. Under attack, you've got the Marksman, Frostmage, Wind Knight, and Stormblade. For support, there's the Verdant Oracle and Soul Musician, and then Guard has the Heavy Guardian and Shield Knight. It is an open zone game rather than full open world, so it consists of multiple large zones that you can freely explore within, with a lot of verticality and width to them. But then each individual zone, as you move from one to the next, there will be a loading screen in between them. In addition to the main story quest, you've also got side stories. There's guide, world, region, and event quest, along with a slew of different content types and objectives that take you throughout these zones. Traversal was probably one of my favorite parts of the game. There's like a lot of different stuff you can do. So you don't just have one jump, you don't even just have a double jump, you can jump 5 times simultaneously. You can also dash, wall run, hover, glide, and fly across the map. You've got updrafts for gliding and flying. There's got a sprinting mini game where when you land, you gain momentum, and then if you hit the bar within a certain section, it then leaps you forward, and you can do this consecutively many times. There's also a mount, and all of this plays into various traversal challenges that you can do across the map. You'll also use this movement to gain access to various collectibles in the environment, with treasure chests and resources to harvest pretty much all over the place. Combat is action, where you combine basic attacks with your class abilities. The class that I played in my preview was the Paladin-like Shield Knight, a defensive-focused tank class using a sword and shield. I also had a shield bash, a cleave ability, the ability to throw my shield, drop a consecration on the ground, and an ultimate that just kind of increased my tankiness and let me deal more damage. And then everybody's got access to the ability to call in spirit creatures that you've captured. These are basically just like 2 additional abilities that you have on top of your basic attack and class abilities. The game's got quite a fair few different activity types and things to do for endgame. All of this rewards different resources and currency, which is used to fuel progression. So you've got the Bureau commissions. These are basically like daily quests where you complete different challenges, minigames, and combat encounters. The Unit X research facility is a building in the game's main city that allows you to instantly load into the game's dungeon runs and boss fights. Stim and Vaults is a 60-floor tower climb challenge. It has both solo and group variants. You've got open world hunts where you'll be going out and choosing different elites and bosses to track down and take out. There's also world bosses that have up to 20 players to take down, and class trials where, as it sounds, you will have a trial for your class archetype, essentially giving you different practice sessions for fulfilling your role. So for example, as the tank, I was asked to like lure enemies away from my allies, or soak up damage, or provide them the time to cast abilities, things along those lines. And then progression in the game is all about doing those activities, collecting, crafting, and enhancing your equipment to get stronger. As for the store, well, it's a free-to-play MMO with gacha. It's got everything you expect. There are cosmetics for sale. You can also buy various resources and currencies. They sell convenience features. They've got a monthly card, which is basically this game's version of a subscription. Comes with boosts to stuff like increased storage, reduced taxes, and daily bonus currencies. And there is a cosmetic gacha system referred to as Wish, where you roll for a random chance to pull one of X cosmetics from the prize pool. Free-to-play MMO gacha. It has all of that stuff as you expect. Now, while I played, I didn't feel the need to engage with it, but usually it comes later in progression where you start to get those pressures with a lack of currency and a desire to get more of it, which you can get conveniently in the cash shop, right? As for feedback, I'd say my biggest point of feedback from when I played was just the pacing of the start of the game felt really slow. Like most of the first like hour and a half or so was a lot of talking to NPCs and hardly any combat. I would like if it was staggered a bit, where you get introduced to the game, you do some combat, you talk to an NPC, you go do some more exploration, do some adventuring, maybe play a mini game, and then you talk to another NPC. But it was just like an hour straight of cutscenes and talking. Like, I want more game in the game and less movie in the game, really. That's a a personal point of preference. Beyond the gripes though, it is a new MMO. I'm going to be playing it at least for a bit. I like to put these new games in the genre through their paces enough to get to max level and experience some of the end game. Blue Protocol Star Resonance will be launching on October 9th, coming to PC. Another game I'm incredibly pumped for this month is Battlefield 6. It's been a while since I really enjoyed and spent much time with a big AAA first-person shooter, but from what I played during the beta, Battlefield 6 may very well change that. I had a ton of fun and I am so looking forward to release. Now it's a Battlefield game. This means you're going to expect a lot of hectic combat on a variety of maps and modes, some of which include the addition of vehicles added to the mix, while on-foot soldiers fight for control of various objectives. Now during the beta test, I mostly played as the support class using my LMG while healing and reviving allies, along with having the ability to resupply ammunition and place down makeshift covers, which helped a lot with those snipers on my team on the ridge in that snowy mountain map. They loved hanging out up there. I was happy to pop down some cover for them from the other snipers. Now beyond the support, you've also got the assault class, proficient in assault rifles and grenade launchers, and favors run and gun playstyle. They have faster health regeneration. The engineer class specializes in submachine guns. They can repair friendly vehicles and also specialize in destroying hostile vehicles with rockets. And then the recon class can carry out battlefield reconnaissance using sniper rifles and is ideal for long-range engagements as a headshot kill prevents opponents from being revived. Now it's important to note that any class can use any weapon. It's just that each class has these unique perks when using their specialized weapon. So for example, recon players can hold their breath while aiming with a sniper rifle, where I suppose other classes can't. I'm actually not sure. Weapons can be customized with mods, restricted only by a designated attach point limit that cannot be exceeded. So you do have to make some decisions. You can't just throw the best of each mod in every slot on every weapon. Lots of different modes as well. These come in varying map sizes and player counts, vehicle access, and whatever the objective you're fighting over is. So you've got things like Conquest, Breakthrough, Rush, Team Deathmatch, Squad Deathmatch, Domination, King of the Hill, and there are a few others. I really enjoyed playing Breakthrough, where you've got an attacking and defending team, and the attackers are trying to push and secure one sector after another, while the defenders are attempting to stop them. It's just the mode I played the most, had fun with it. One thing I've not tried yet though, and I'm keen to check out, is this Battle Royale mode. The gameplay was really enjoyable, so I think it could be fun as a Battle Royale. I'm not really sure what the wider Battlefield community expects or thinks about this mode, but I'm interested in giving it a go for sure. Probably my only real complaint from the beta was the available map sizes. It just felt like the maps that we had access to weren't all that big, and it does seem like it's the case that yes, we're going to be getting larger maps that weren't included in that rotation. There will be their release, so I'm also looking forward to checking those out. Either way, bigger maps or not, I had a ton of fun playing regardless. Despite a few minor gripes here and there, it's the most entertainment that I've gotten from a AAA FPS in years, so I'm excited to play again. Battlefield 6 will be launching on October 10th, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. I don't know too much about this next game, but the bits of gameplay that I've seen have looked legitimately solid. Painkiller, a franchise from the early 2000s that in my mind was very much meant to be a Doom-like game, well, it's back, making a return under the same name as the original, but with a new twist, and it's co-op focused as well. So you're going to be battling hordes of demons and titanic terrors across detailed gothic environments, either solo or in a group of up to 4. The premise is that you are trapped in purgatory, sentenced for your transgressions against heaven, but the voice of the creator gives you a chance to redeem yourself as one of the champions. You are out to stop the fallen angel Azazel, who is, I'm probably not saying that right, who is about to unleash his demonic armies onto Earth. So you're taking on demonic hordes, trying to stop the big bad guy, and in the process getting your ticket to the pearly gates. Some of the game's listed features include the ability to jump, dash, and hook across vast biomes while fighting enemies with a host of new and classic Painkiller weapons. You'll challenge a variety of enemies ranging from hordes of smaller demons to these titanic terrors, while also utilizing tarot cards to enhance your abilities and combine them with other players for combo attacks. And you're playing as one of 4 distinct characters, Ink, Void, Soul, and Raw, taking advantage of their unique perks to boost your energy, health, power, and damage. And given it's a co-op game, this combined with the tarot cards means you're probably running one of each character and different character tarot cards to support each other, which sounds kind of cool. Also, they recently revealed this Rogue Angel mode, which is a rogue-like mode with procedurally generated arenas, unpredictable drops, and brutal enemies. Much like the original game reminded me of classic Doom, this reboot reminds me of the Doom reboots, which is kind of funny. I don't know, man. Honestly, the gameplay trailers look at least decent. Like, I'm really surprised. This could be a lot of fun. Keeping my fingers crossed. I also like this co-op twist that they've got here as well. The Painkiller reboot will be launching on October 21st, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. And then we have got Arc Raiders, which by my estimation might just be the most anticipated extraction game that we've seen in a long time. There's a massive amount of positive buzz every time I see this game mentioned, and I think it's for good reason. The developer's prior title, The Finals, was very well received, and Arc Raiders is looking to also be a solid new game. At its core, it's an extraction shooter. It's got all the expected fundamentals of the genre, layered with some rather impressive visuals, audio, and a few unique elements on top. So yes, you're doing the usual thing, dropping in with a starter set of weapons and consumables, spawning at some random point on the outskirts of one of the game's multiple maps. From there, you go about exploring the environment, visiting different points of interest, and scavenging for loot. All of the points of interest are marked. It's going to give you a basic idea of the sort of items you'll find there, as well as the level of danger and threat. In the process, you'll be fighting enemies. There is the PvE, which comes in a form of various different types of ground and air robots. You got tiny little spiders that jump and cling to your face. You got small flamethrower balls that roll up to you and blast you with fire. Larger spheres that spin up and charge at high speeds, slamming into you. And then you got the much bigger spider mechs with lunging attacks and all sorts of artillery and high-powered weaponry on their shoulders. Numerous flying drones. You got assault rifle ones that shoot tasers and rocket launchers. And then there is the ever-present alarm drones that periodically scan the ground. If they spot you or another person, they make a loud-ass noise and send in some attack drones to your location, while also alerting any nearby players because of the noise. And yes, other players are a threat. It is a PvEVP extraction game. Whether you're playing solo or in a group, you're gonna come across other players, and when you do, it's time to fight. PvP is a big part of this. Audio plays a big role. It's one of those games where every single little thing you do makes a very distinct sound. As you play, you're gonna learn those sounds and know what they mean. This helps you figure out what enemies are doing around you. There are various events and hazards in the game as well to spice up the action, as well as multiple maps that you can drop into. Ultimately, just like any extraction game, you're trying to stay alive, get out, and take your loot with you. Doing this successfully lets you store the loot in your stash, and then you can also use some currency and resources to craft upgrades, making you stronger for the next run, re-equip yourself, pick your next map, drop in, and go again. Some of the big standouts, the things that I like the most from the time that I played with the game, the gameplay and feel is really good. Solid feeling, a third-person shooter. Visuals are phenomenal, like jaw-dropping, very good-looking game, especially a lot of the lighting and particle effects. It's just a beauty to behold. And on top of that, performance was flawless when I played. Like, I was running at a constant, non-fluctuating 120 FPS at a high setting too. It's really performed exceptionally well for me. The sound quality is really good. They've got those unique twists with the constant robot threat. And honestly, I can see this game's like looter shooter roots, because originally Arc Raiders was supposed to be like a third-person co-op looter shooter, kind of like a Borderlands or a Destiny or something, but then they kind of morphed it into this extraction version. But I can see that core, like the PvE in this game alone is pretty impressive. Like some cool, interesting enemies to fight on top of the PvP element. So the last beta test they held went quite well. People seem to really enjoy the game. As I mentioned, a lot of positive word of mouth every time this thing is brought up. They do have another test coming in just a couple of weeks from October 17th to the 19th, and then the game will be officially launching shortly after on October 30th. Really looking forward to playing again. Definitely expect some coverage from me. All right, so those are the main games, like the ones that I am most excited for and interested in playing this month. But as mentioned, October is pretty jam-packed, and there's quite a few additional games that I think you should know about. Reviews are already in for Ghost of Yotei, and they are pretty good. The game currently got a rating of 87 on Metacritic and an 89 on OpenCritic, with a whopping 96% critic recommendation, which is a bit higher than they were for Ghost of Tsushima. Now, I do want to play this, but likely it's going to be the case that I'm waiting until the PC release happens, probably sometime next year. Nevertheless, for those of you PlayStation gamers out there, you got a solid looking new title coming very soon. Ghost of Yotei is the sequel, of course, to the 2020 hit Ghost of Tsushima. This one centers around the theme of underdog vengeance, with the story set in Hokkaido, Japan in 1603, 329 years after the events of the last game. Players will be taking control of Atsu, a female warrior who adopts the persona of the ghost at the dawn of the Edo period. Developers have said that players will have more control over the game's narrative and choices compared to Tsushima, while building upon on the great combat world and exploration of the first. I mean, people really liked the original game, and at least when it comes to critical ratings, I think the Metacritic rating is the same, but the open critic score as well as the critic recommendation are both higher. A lot of positive buzz around this. I know there's been some controversy about stuff as far as the game's concerned. Hopefully this turns out pretty good. Critic reviews at least say it may very well. Ghost of Yotei launches on October 2nd for PlayStation consoles. Still not sure if I'm saying the name right. I'm gonna guess the answer is no. Little Nightmares 3. This is an atmospheric adventure game in which you follow the journey of Lo and Alone, two friends in search of a way out of nowhere. This is one of those games that is really about the journey. You're moving through this really interesting environment, solving puzzles, attempting to survive, and you're progressing the narrative. It's a narrative-based exploration puzzle game. Each character comes with their own iconic item, a bow for Lo and a wrench for Alone, and you'll have to work together as you sneak through hidden passages, hoist each other over massive obstacles, and watch each other's backs. So Lo's arrows can reach up to high targets, cut through ropes, or shoot down flying enemies, while Alone's wrench is the thing that's used for crushing and stunning enemies, smashing through barriers, and manipulating the workings of machines. The world is full of all sorts of horrific monsters. They're trying to make you their next meal. You'll have to run, hide, and defend yourself at a moment's notice to stay in one piece, all on the backdrop of this really haunting and gorgeous looking world. The first two games were pretty cool. Little Nightmares 3 is scheduled to release on October 9th for PC, PlayStation, Xbox, and Switch. All right, next up we've got Fellowship. This game's premise is simple. What if you took World of Warcraft's dungeons and just spun it off into its entirely own separate game? That is Fellowship in a nutshell. Referred to as a multiplayer online dungeon adventure, or MODA, set in an exciting fantasy world with endlessly scaling dungeons runs. Players must focus on working together as a team with an emphasis on skill, cooperation, and strategy to defeat bosses, collect loot, and work together to overcome challenges. The game features the Holy Trinity. You've got a couple of different options for each of the categories of tank, healer, and damage dealer, and you just do the MMO dungeon thing. You go together in a run, you use each of your strengths to clear the packs of enemies, to keep your team alive, and to take down the bosses. It's got group sizes of 4. You can of course queue with friends or get a random group of players via matchmaking. And one of the game's main progression features is the scaling dungeons, where you're increasing the challenge over time. As you progress, things get harder. Beyond increasing enemy health and damage, they add more mechanics as well as different modifiers. It's like WoW's Mythic Plus system, but again, in its own game. So I played in a previous test, and unfortunately, I didn't really love it. I was expecting that this was going to be something that I would enjoy as a big fan of MMOs. I like running dungeons. I thought this was going to be a sure bet for me, but it just didn't click for whatever reason. Now that said, I'm wishing them all the best. I love the look of this game, and I'm going to be giving it another shot to see if whatever changes they've made are enough for me and that I'm really starting to enjoy it. Either way though, if you're interested, Fellowship is coming to Steam Early Access on October 16th, and I wish them the best. Hope it goes well. All right, next up is Keeper. This is the latest game from renowned developer Double Fine Productions, creators of Monkey Island. This is an atmospheric puzzle adventure in which a long-forgotten lighthouse is awakened and, joined by a spirited seabird, embarks upon a heartening tale of unlikely companionship and an unexpected journey into realms beyond understanding. You play as a sentient walking lighthouse with a bird who helps you solve puzzles. In fact, the game is mostly about traversing the environment and uncovering clues to solve the various puzzles and obstacles in front of you. Looks cool, really silly and quirky in typical Double Fine fashion. I know this game is gonna have a fan base, and I would like to give it a look if I have the time. Keeper will be launching October 17th for PC and Xbox. The long-awaited Vampire Masquerade Bloodlines 2 is coming this month. This is an action role-playing game that hopes to live up to the legend of its predecessor, although something tells me it may fall short. Unfortunately, this is one of those titles that has been fairly plagued with negative press during its development, from being stuck in development hell to multiple delays, and the recent revelation that some of the fan-favorite vampire clans would be locked behind paid DLC. I also saw an early preview that said the game was cool but kind of boring, which isn't great either. Hopefully they overcome these things. In fact, I think that DLC clan thing got walked back, although I'm not certain. Beyond that though, the game itself, well, it's said to be an immersive role-playing game. You'll be sustaining yourself and powers through drinking blood, stalking and feeding on the city's population by night, and using supernatural powers of persuasion on civilians to lure them into deep, dark alleys and satiate your hunger, all while attempting to avoid breaking the Masquerade, because that's the big no-no. If you do, you're either going to deal with human law enforcement or much, much worse. Combat is said to be rewarding different playstyles and approaches based on your choice of vampire clan. Hopefully you got one of the free ones. With options for melee range, fighting head-on, or taking a stealthier approach, you're going to be making your way through this modern-day Seattle on the brink of open war. Your choices, plots, and schemes helping determine the balance of power and what becomes of the city. Vampire the Masquerade's Bloodlines 2 is set to release on October 21st for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. There's a new Ninja Gaiden, quite a blast from the past. This is an action-adventure game co-developed by Team Ninja and Platinum, the 7th mainline game in the Ninja Gaiden series and the direct sequel to Ninja Gaiden 3 from back in 2012. Key features include an improved combat system. You got different techniques. You got bloodbind and ninjutsu, legacy techniques. You got the Cadus wire grapple, real-time weapon switching, and the ability to go into a berserk state. The game features a new protagonist and is set in near future Tokyo, where an ancient enemy has been resurrected. Ninja Gaiden 4 will be launching on October 21st for PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. Then we got Outer Wilds 2, the next installment of the original sci-fi RPG from Obsidian. The first game from 2020 was decently well liked, scoring positive ratings on Steam. It's basically like a Bethesda RPG, but the light condensed version and a little more on rails. Smaller zones, more limited interactions and environments. The sequel is hoping to expand on some of what they built in the first game. We'll be exploring entirely new areas, building out our character with abilities and playstyles based on our preferences, enlisting companions with their own traits, backstories, and goals, all while uncovering the mysteries of a universe on the brink. People did enjoy the first game, however, the recently released Avowed kind of got lukewarm reception, to say the least, and there is a chance that impacts this game's launch, even though it's developed by an entirely different part of the studio, because Obsidian is a big studio. They didn't release Avowed earlier this year and then in a couple of months put together the Outer Worlds 2. No, they're separate studios, but or they're separate teams within the studio, and I don't know, we'll have to see how this goes. The Outer Worlds 2 is set to release on October 29th, coming to PC, PlayStation, and Xbox. We also got a couple updates and betas I want to tell you about. New World has this Nighthaven update. It's adding a brand new zone, this spooky vampire themed area. There's new story quest lines, a new game mode of Catacombs where 3 players explore procedurally generated dungeons. There's a new raid, an overhauled endgame progression, and a new PvP map. This looks and sounds surprisingly interesting and big, which is surprising to me because I honestly thought that most of the development team had moved on to that Lord of the Rings MMO, but there's a fair bit of content. I mean, a whole new zone, a whole new game mode, a new raid and PvP thing, whatever, but those 2 other things sound really, really interesting. So hopefully I'll have time. I'd like to check this out. The Nighthaven update launches on October 13th. And then as mentioned, we get that Arc Raiders playtest. This is going to be happening from October 17th and 19th. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're at all interested. The game's a lot of fun, so give it a look before it launches. You got a 3-day window there. Oh, and then also I just saw there are beta test signups for Outward 2. This is a really interesting RPG with unique mechanics. The original was, and the sequel looks really cool as well, so I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, just on the Steam page, you can sign up to be a part of the playtesting for that game. Now, in terms of what I'm going to be playing this month, well, it's going to be, I'm going to be busy. We got Kingmakers, Blue Protocol, Battlefield 6, Painkiller, and Arc Raiders. Those are the definitely want to play. Then if I have the time, I would like to follow up with Fellowship. I want to check out Keeper, and that New World update sounds cool. I would be interested in playing that. And yeah, and then if there's any access time, which I highly doubt it, any of these other games on my list would definitely be interesting as well. That does it though. Thank you so much for watching. Like I said, quite a busy month, lots of games. I'm gonna be playing a lot of games and making a lot of videos. That's the expectation anyway. But that's all for today. Let me know if there's anything I missed in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed. See you in the next one. Take it easy.